Okay, this is Dave with the National Gardening Association, and I have in front of me the Garden Tower 2. This is quite possibly one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. I met one of the guys from this project down in Arizona a couple months ago, and he told me about it and said, yeah, you gotta check this out. So he sent me one, and what it is it's a container, and you fill it up with soil, and once it's filled up with soil, of course, it's kind of like these strawberry pots where you can plant containers all through here. The thing actually rotates, which is awesome. So you can have it on your porch, balcony, patio, concrete, out in your middle of grass, whatever. The thing that's interesting about this, though, is that it actually is a worm bin in addition to being a container. So what you got is here in the middle, you got this tube that goes all the way down to the bottom, and you can fill that up with scraps like, cardboard, kitchen scraps, coffee grinds, all that kind of stuff. Put your worms in there, and they will start to do the whole worm composting thing, which of course everybody knows I'm a huge fan of. And whenever you've got more kitchen scraps, you just come out here, take the lid off, throw the stuff in, and then close it back up, and you're done. So they got these holes all the way down the line, and the worms, I guess, can come in and out, but they probably would stay for the most part in here because that's where their feed is. And then, of course, all the rest of this cavity is full of potting soil, and then you got your plants growing. Now, the thing about it is, this thing doesn't drain. So there's a screen down here, and the screen is at the bottom of this internal worm bin area. That way the worm castings and all that stuff won't go down into the reservoir below. Here's the reservoir. Now, it rained recently, so you can see it's full of water. The idea is that as you're watering your container and it's draining all the way down through, all that water ends up inside this reservoir. Then, when the reservoir is kind of, after you water or you've got a big rain, you can take this and then water it right back into the system. And as it drains down, it goes back down into this bottom reservoir, ready to be captured and reused again and again and again. In other words, this system really could be just used non-stop, and you're just constantly recycling that same water through. Especially with the worm compost, it's going to be full of nutrients every time, and you just don't want to waste that stuff and let it just drain out into the grass. So very cool. Now, how... oh, I see. There's the notch. Okay, good. So, extremely well built. Look how thick that plastic is. These things are this is probably the most heavy-duty thing I've ever been sent in my life that's been made out of plastic. Very cool, very exciting. And yeah, how many of these notches are there? I mean, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like 10 of these per level, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels. So that's like about 60 plants you can grow in this thing. And I've seen pictures where the thing was just completely covered with plants, just going down the side and spilling out over everything. So very awesome. I'm going to take this to my back porch. I'm going to fill it up with potting soil, and then I'm going to put the worm bin thing together. I have worms, as luck would have it. So I'm going to carve up a bunch of cardboard. Probably I'll just do mostly just cardboard, and I'll maybe put some layers in there. I'll do some coffee grinds and things like that, and then I'll have the potting soil up to really, right to the very top level here, and then. What the instructions said to do is once you get the potting soil filled up, you give it about 3 gallons of water, and then that all drains down to the bottom. And then you can, at that point, you start pulling out the top and putting it in. I don't know what happens when it rains, because when it rains, you're going to get more water in the system than you would typically get. So I think that, there's going to be an abundance of water that does come down into that bottom tray. And in cases like that, I think you just take the excess and use it to water your other houseplants and stuff like that. At least that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, so this is the Garden Tower 2, and I'll shoot some more video once I get the thing full. All right. Okay, well, I have moved it to my back porch and set next to my pool, so if you hear any water flowing, that's just the pool. Don't worry about that. Anyway, this area is nice. It's got, as you can see, plenty of light. This is going to be a good full sun area. I filled up with potting soil, worked out really well, and we watered it. Now I wanted to show you this. You can kind of see how in here the potting soil didn't like come into these holes and fill them all the way up. There's still about 2 inches of potting soil that's missing from each one of these holes all the way down. Now in some cases it did kind of come in, but so what I think the instructions actually talk about this. You need to come back and add a little bit of potting soil into each one of these holes just to kind of bring it up a little bit. And then when it's time to plant, then you can kind of push it open and put your plant in there. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to just add in a handful of soil into each one of these holes until I'm satisfied with, with the potting soil's level. You know how it is when you're watering stuff, it tends to just kind of get settled down. That's the case. That's what happened here, which is, normal and expected. And I'm going to show you down here. As you can see, this is clean. The potting soil did not go through those holes. So all I got to do is do my worm part of this. And I'm actually really excited for that. I'll be doing that soon. And anyway, so when I watered this for the first time, it's slowly going down. And I bet you there's water in here. And there is. So as you can see, of course, it's got some potting soil in there too, which is a long story why that's in there. Anyway, there we go. So that can continue to work its way down and redo it. So that's it. We will be, like I mentioned, we will be adding potting soil to these holes just a little bit just to kind of top each one up. And then we can have fun and start planting. Okay, I've got my garden tower planted. I planted all kinds of stuff. I planted weird things like Hoyas and Salvia greggii, things that I'll probably have to remove later. Peppers, basils. And I planted these little basils, the globe basil. They make these little tiny leaves. It's really neat. It gets to be about 12 inches, maybe 18 total. And strawberries, of course. I mean, a container like this has to have strawberries. More peppers, more basil, more salvias. Just a bunch of mix of different things. That salvia's gonna be blooming soon. And yeah, it went really well. Very easy to do. Up here at the top, I put a tomato in. I've got a tatsoi over here. I've got a lot of tatsois. That's a tatsoi. That's a tatsoi. Let's see if we can see that in there. Real small. Starting to get eaten up by bugs, but that's okay. And then here in the middle, I put my worms in. So I already had a worm bin going. What I did is I had actually filled this all the way to the top with all the old stuff from an old worm bin. And it actually sank down about 12 inches already. Let's see if I can see some worms in there. They're in there. They're hiding right now. They're shy. They don't like to get in front of the camera. But anyway, so that's that. The idea is that the worms will live in there, do well. They'll fertilize the plants. I don't know if we have any water down here in this dish. Let's see. Whoa, we do. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm wearing socks right now, so I'm not going to pull that out and water it. But the idea is to take this back up to the top and dump it in, and then you just keep on circulating the water through and through, and then you're not losing any nutrients. So we're expecting some rain today. I expect this thing's going to get filled up. So after I turn off the video, I'm going to take that water out and water up at the top, and then off we go. So that is the Garden Tower 2, and I'm going to grow it all season long here. As you can see, it's right next to my house. There's my house, nice full sun. Right next to my pool, and we'll just see how it goes through the season. I actually have pretty high expectations. I think this is going to be a really cool garden. Based on what I've seen from it so far, I totally would recommend it to anybody. It's not cheap, but if you've got the money and if you want a really nice container plant garden for your balcony or back porch or small city lot, anything like that, really I think this is about as good as you can get. So thank you, and see y'all later.